welcome back to Strong Opinion Hibs. This is probably the most dull podcast we're ever going to have, but this is episode 15. I'm Charlie, and as always, I'm joined by Calvin. And this week we're joined by two returning guests, Andy and Jack. How are we doing, boys?
All right. All things
not bad, mate.
I think that's the general consensus. Calvin, how are you doing? Any addition to that?
Doing all right, mate. It is what it is, eh? I mean, it's been a hard week, didn't get me wrong, but as I said, I'll be back there next year, mate, tune them on, and the year after that as well. So we'll see how it goes, eh?
Aye. Well, this episode is, as always, sponsored by Hibs Pins. We'll be having some pre-season pins dropping soon, so make sure to check out them. And we're also on Recast, as always. This episode will be on Recast, and just a reminder that the money or the in-app credits that you spend in Recast goes to the club as well. So hopefully the money that you spend can go on buying some new players in the summer. So we'll just jump right into it. The only talking point, or one of the two main talking points this week, is Saturday. So I'll start with you, Jack. What do you think?
Well, I mean, one word: disappointing. Disappointing. You know, we were flat. We didn't look interested, and St Johnstone were just a better team. So what I'd like to do is, first of all, say well done to Colin Davidson for what he's done. You know, I'm not going to be sour about it. Well done to him. He's done a massive achievement with that St Johnstone side in his first season as a manager, and thoroughly deserved to lose on Saturday. The midfield, I thought, was a big area of concern. A lot of team selection problems, but 50-50. You know, Jack Ross made the wrong tactical decisions, but at the same time, the players didn't show up, and it was just really, it wasn't a fun game to watch, to be honest. It's probably one of the worst cup final performances after the obvious one for me, to be honest. And yeah, there's a lot that the team needs to be looking at going forward. Just like utterly disappointed with how flat we were and everything like that.
Aye, I concur, mate. Andy, what did you think going into the game, mate? Do you think we were going to do it?
I think I like lied to myself. Oh, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. It's just like 2016.
Aye. What did you think of the game, mate?
It was. I thought the game was terrible. I thought I actually thought it was boring. I thought it was about as bad as the Livy St Johnstone final. I mean, they were brilliant, St Johnstone. I'm not taking anything away from them. They were brilliant. Tactics spot on. Just we played right into their hands, and we didn't look up for it at all. I don't know if there's a mental block there with St Johnstone and us. But I'm not angry. I didn't feel like angry. I was disappointed. It was just like, oh, it's happened.
Aye.
Time to go to the pub.
Aye.
My answer was just time to go to the pub.
Aye. Calvin, what were you thinking about it, mate? Or what did you think about it?
Just spineless, mate. I thought it was such a spineless and gutless performance for the players. I was so disappointed. Before the match, mate, I really did think they were going to do it. I thought they were going to do it. I really did. I thought we had good. I think we've got good players. I think we've done well this year. I just felt like we were going to do it, and fortunately we didn't, mate. There was nothing inspiring about that performance. It was very, very poor. This in every aspect of it, mate. There was nothing about them. No ideas, no creativity. Just rubbish, mate. Rubbish, absolutely rubbish.
Aye. The thing that got me, and boys, you can share your opinion on it as well, is that we just seem to play the same way against St Johnstone. Like long ball to Dodge and Jason Kerr and Jamie McCart and whoever else they had in
Liam
Gordon, aye. They just won every single ball that we put forward to them. Never got the ball out wide. It was just gutless, like what Calvin said, spineless. Not one player on that park, apart from maybe Matt Macy for that double save, gets pass marks, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
It's just a bad end to a good season. But aye, so if you could sum it up in one word, we'll go around. How would you describe it? So Jack, we'll start with you.
Disappointing.
Andy?
Rubbish.
Calvin?
Okay, it's one word's hard, is it? No. I just disappointed, mate. Disappointing.
I'll just say disappointing as well. I think that's pretty much sums up
betrayal.
Betrayal,
mate. I feel betrayed. I mean, just felt betrayed by that. It's not what we're about.
No,
Aye.
no, absolutely. So, Jank, who's to blame for it? Jack Ross, the players?
50-50.
It's a collective, isn't it? It's a complete collective.
You know,
I just don't understand. Like, as you're saying, Charlie, it's the same game plan against St Johnstone. And as they kept highlighting on BBC, see the minute we got the ball back to like Porteous or Hanlon to do a big cross ball,
Aye.
defence pushed in, and Middleton and Witherspoon, they made a back seven. It's just like, you know, they were ready for it. And the minute we put a ball up towards Deutsch, Jason Kerr had him in his back pocket. And it said everything when I can't mind to put the ball in, but Kerr beat Deutsch to the ball. We got a corner for it.
Right, aye. If you hadn't, that was in.
Aye.
No. But Deutsch didn't attack the ball. He just waited for the ball to come to him, and I thought that summed up the performance a bit.
It didn't look like a typical Deutsch performance though, Because usually he's up battling for them, and he was just a bit flat-footed, I felt. And I mean, he didn't really get into the game. To be fair, none of them got into the game. We had a decent spell, didn't we? The first 15 minutes or whatever, and then it just went to pot after that. And when Irvin had that, Irvin should have scored that. To be fair, that chance he had, but
yeah, you've got to.
Or doing at least testing the keeper more than he did. But right, let's
got to be scoring that.
Absolutely.
He really should have been scoring that.
I was going to say, mate, I think the players are more to blame, to be honest with you. I mean, I think it's a bit controversial. I mean, didn't get me wrong, I'm not delighted with Jack Ross in any way. I mean, I'm not happy with him in terms of some of the comments he made.
See, that's being proud of the players.
It's a lot of
absolutely tempo.
But he also said at half time, he said if we're going to lose this and we're going to lose it going down fighting, that's not inspiring to me. If it was me in the dressing room, I'd be saying to him, you get your finger out, get your finger out, get your finger out. This is a cup final. I'm not losing this. I am not losing this. Get your finger out. You've got 45 minutes to get it sorted. Do you know what I mean? Or there'd be trouble. No, that I know what that would be, but
didn't let that cup pass you by. These players had their chance to be legends. Double the amount for the likes of Hanlon.
I feel like Jack Ross. I mean, there's an obvious debate. Should have he started McGregor? Should he know of? I think the last couple of weeks, in my opinion, the reason he's brought McGregor on is to sort of like nullify the game at the end, like just cancel their team out, like pack the defence. Like McInnes done it for years up at Aberdeen, like taking a striker off or a winger off and bringing on our defender at 70 minutes and trying to see the game out. So I could see why he's done that. I could also see why he probably should have started McGregor. More experience, less mistakes, Hibs through and through, without a doubt. But I just feel like from what they produced on the park, I don't feel that's a reflection of probably what they done in training and that. I mean, I don't know what happened, but to me, at the same time, it looked first 20 minutes, as you're saying there, Charlie. I thought Hibs, I'd never seen them play like that. They looked as if they'd set up, so when they lose or concede, they're very defensive. I thought they were trying not to lose.
Yeah, it looked past the very start. But like what I was saying about the 50-50 is managers can set things up wrong. And personally, I think after a wee while, Doig should have been hooked off and brought Stevenson on when you've seen that he was struggling with coping with Rooney. Stevenson, he's not the most pacey player in the world, but he's got the physicality and he's got the determination to drive forward. But yeah, Jack Ross did make wrong decisions, but the players didn't show up. You know, a manager can get it wrong and the players can show up and make the game. It's no managers that win games, it's players.
It's the players,
It's players, and they just did. To me, they looked like they didn't care. After St Johnstone conceded, there seemed to be a bit of not realisation, but a sort of acceptance, if you like. And I just don't think, in a cup final, that's not acceptable. It's not like any old league game where you can just go, oh, well, we can go again next week. It's a cup final, and you've got to go out there and give it 100% because, you know, it's a one-off game. And St Johnstone, we know how they operate. The minute they score, it's brick wall. You're not getting through that. They're going to park the bus.
Aye, absolutely. I think the one bit we've probably not mentioned is how bad was our defending for their goal.
It was like the League Cup semi to me. It was like a carbon copy. I think it was it Kane or Kerr's goal? It was like a carbon copy of that in the League Cup semi.
Conway chopped it.
Nobody's watching them on the wing. Gogic, I don't know what. Like Gogic just got sold up the Swanee.
Has he landed yet? He was about 17 foot in the air.
That was bad, man. There's no hiding for that. That's going to be someone else said that's going to be a meme for years.
Aye. Then McGinn just was caught out, and I think Boyle's a little bit to blame there as well. The ball comes in, and Macy, I don't think Macy could not react to it. The minute I saw Rooney at that back post, I thought, here we go. The minute that ball went in, I thought, that's Johnson's bread and butter. Those sorts of goals.
It's tailor-made for him. That whole thing was
absolutely. And
if you were to say what's the DNA St Johnstone a goal, that's it.
That's it.
You know what I mean? Somebody says what's a St Johnstone goal? That right there.
It was abysmal.
It was a good passage of play. They really caught our defence, and the problem is they need to react to that. Now I'll see a lot of people blaming Porteous. He couldn't have really done anything once that ball went. I do think he didn't.
What was Hanlon doing?
I was just about to ask that. Who's Hanlon marking?
Exactly.
Thin air.
Hanlon was the invisible man, clearly, or his imaginary friend. He wasn't marking.
Do you think they were caught out though? Do you think Hanlon and that expected that to come across, or do you think he expected Gogic and McGinn to deal with it?
I do see it for that point, but the thing about being a defence, you've got to work as a unit. When one person
communication,
you've got to react. You've got to be on like that.
It goes back to your point, Calvin, that there's no leadership in that team.
We've said it for 15 weeks now. We've said it since we started this podcast. There is not, honestly. I mean, there's nothing. I don't see it. I don't see any leadership in that team. There's no Scott Brown types of characters. There's Stephen Naismiths. If you look around the league, there's
just a nasty, just
Rangers, Ryan Jack, and folk like that. Like there's nothing. There's no for me. People can argue McGregor, but McGregor plays once in a blue moon. Not consistent. And then we were on the Dogger Saints podcast just giving our review, and those boys were saying, well, what about David Gray in the changing room? What about this? What about that? Like, it's not enough for me, Like, it's not enough that just what I see is I don't see any leadership. Not just you can't argue. I mean, nobody stepped up and was counted for in that game. Not one person. Even if you're having a bad game, you can still try and influence the game. I would rather see, Joe Newell or someone who's maybe not playing particularly well, even if they know they're not playing well, still try and get in the ball and make things happen. And if you make a mistake, get the ball again and go again, because that's what real players do and what real winners do. If you lose it 10 times, get it back in 11th. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
I thought it was just abysmal, absolutely abysmal. And that defending for that corner was, it sums up the game really. I mean, it was half-arsed defending.
Right.
How do you get beat by Callum Booth? Callum Booth was, I mean, Jesus, honestly.
Where was that when he was at Hibs? You came up with me?
Nah, nothing.
Wasn't it like that when he was at Hibs? And
no,
just it's
see the reaction to that goal. It reminded me when we went 3-0 down to Falkirk in 2013. And Hanlon was an absolute novice. Like, he was at fault for 3 of the goals against Falkirk. I mind it. And you just seen everybody just. It was so flat.
It's almost like when we go a goal behind against St Johnstone, it's like, well, we're fucked for ideas, for lack of a better phrase. Like,
exactly.
We've absolutely nothing when we go 1-0 down against them. And I think it's 50-50. Jack Ross can only do so much, but the players need to turn up.
I think one of the big takeaways for me was the fact I was watching that game and it was getting deeper and deeper into the match, and you're looking at it 60 minutes, 70 minutes, 80 minutes, and there's not one player in that team I'm looking at and I'm thinking, thank God we've got him. Thank God he's on the park. Give the ball to him. Give the ball to him and he'll make the difference. Nobody.
On you go, Jack.
The bench wasn't, to me, the bench hasn't got any, like, I didn't look at our bench and go, there's somebody that can come and win it. Jamie Gillen, I know a lot of folk would probably crucify me for this, but I think Stevie Mallon probably would have, because Stevie Mallon would have seen a gap and just put the laces through it. And that's what you need when you get to that stage in a game like that. You need a player that's going to pick it, and no matter how speculative the chance is, just go for it. Like, you've got a young lad, Jamie Gillen, he could have came on. So to me, there wasn't enough strength in the bench. Now, obviously, those are decisions that have been made beforehand. You can't really fix that before. You know, those sorts of players would have an impact in that. You know what, folk don't like Stevie Mallan, but you need a Stevie Mallan-like midfielder that will try and get the ball forward. To me, the midfield, and I think Mickey Weir was saying it in Edinburgh Evening News, he wrote an article in Edinburgh Evening News, that the midfield looked too flat. It was like Hallberg had a good game in the semi-final, actually tried to drive forward. Why couldn't you play him over Newell? Him and Gogic, it's proved they play well together.
Aye.
Going back to your point about Mallan, though, Jack, supporters will tell you, though, that Mallan only scores goals. As if it's a bad thing.
Only scores goals.
Like, do we know? Do we know what?
What football's about, is it?
Do we not want a midfielder that can bloody score goals?
He was one of the best young midfielders when I think we lost out on him because when he was first in St Mirren, we were interested. He went to Barnsley, and obviously we've got him now. Is McGuinness much better than him? Who we've got sitting on the bench?
Any day.
No. I'm with you. I don't think Mallan's a bad
really
player.
Like Stevie Mallan.
I think he's a good player. I think he's one of those. Sorry to interrupt you, but he's one of those players. If we let him go, right, and he went away and he signed for a Motherwell or St Johnstone, something like that, give him 2-3 seasons, and he'd be one of the best players in the league. He'd raise his game massively.
He only scores worldies as well, you know. They're always good goals, you know. And it's because he has the sort of determination and the attitude, you know. I see space, I'm going to pick out the top postage stamp. And I'm going to pick out the middle. He knows, like the goal against Hearts, he saw that Pereira was a little bit off his line, and he went, you know what, I'm going to take that on. I've got the space. The goalkeepers, you know, and you know some of the goals against Runjavik in the Europa League qualifier as well.
There's a free kick he scored that season he signed against Motherwell on the first day of the season. I said to my dad, that's Beckham-esque, that. If somebody can just get on the ball and he'll smash it.
Exactly.
And if the goalkeeper spills it, we've got the strikers to...
Exactly. That's what that's all about.
There's Scott Allen, there's nothing on the bench there. I've seen it
Jamie
so
Murphy
much since January.
Didn't he do anything when he came off the bench, really?
Nah, I think Jack Rossini he changed the game, but... He was
all right.
He had that run when he played Doigen. Was it Doig or Doig?
One of them.
One of the two of them. And then Doig, one of them fucked it. It was so frustrating.
Yeah, I think Murphy, but it's too late. That sort of player on at that point. You know, Murphy to me is good, but the injuries have hampered him, sort of thing. You know, if we had a fully fit Jamie Murphy week in, week out, he'd be, you know, absolutely amazing for us. But, you know, and then that young laddie for Inverness, if he'd been eligible, Mackay that we just signed, I think he would have made an impact on that game if he'd been eligible to play in it. But obviously, he's not officially like Hibs player, it's a P contract. So, you know, there's another yin that you've just got to look at. So I think the future's bright on a more positive note that we're bringing these sort of players in, and I hope, beyond all hope, that we keep Mallan. But so the sorts of players that could have made an impact in that game had they been allowed to play.
I agree with you, Jack.
Well, let's talk about the last thing I want to touch about the game before there's another huge talking point of Saturday night as well. But the last 15 minutes, right now, they get a penalty, which is it a penalty? That's not up for debate here. I think it was. Matt Macy pulls off a double save, and we are flat after a double save for a penalty. When do you ever see a team that is flat after a double penalty save?
That just sums it up to me.
That sums up the game.
That sums up the whole game. Macy, like we're talking about, is the only player that gets past him. He looked like the only one that cared. The rest of them were away laughing and joking with the constant players, and he was crumpled on a heap in the box, like, you know, near the tier.
His eyes out,
That shows that Macy cared to me, and he was brilliant. I think Macy, you know, he collected a few crosses that if it hadn't, I think if that had been Marciano, it could have been a repeat of the semi-final. There's a few of those crosses that came in that he came out to get. You know, I think
he'll go through his defenders to get the ball.
You know,
he's one of them.
He's just a fantastic. To me, the heart he showed as well in that game. And you know, again, try to pick out positives as many as I can. It's great that he's going to be our number one next season. I'm really looking forward to seeing more of him.
I agree with you, mate.
I totally
I agree as well.
Well, the last. Go on, Colin, mate. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I think it comes back to again, mate. Leadership. Who sees that and thinks, Christ, we win him a chance here. If we get a goal, our tails are up.
Aye.
Double penalty save. We go on to score next. Tails are up. There's a good chance they could crumble. We've got the players there. We've got the players there to hurt them. Do you know what I mean?
The thing is, see if we scored, they would have shot it.
Oh, aye.
Oh, they would have. Absolutely. I think, it would have been like Falkirk for me at the 3-0, was once we got back into it, that's it. They would have crapped the bed and that would have been it. And maybe even extra time on penalties, we could have won that. But the thing is, like talking about leadership, nobody was going, right, he's just pulled off a double save, let's get up the park, let's try here. For our team, A, for our teammate, and B, just, to get this done. And what I know is, like, the 2016 final, we had leaders. And that when we got back into that, the belief was there that, what we can go and win. And that's what Stubbs was talking about. Stubbs was saying the belief for the dugout to the pitch, to the stands was there when we got that equaliser in 26. But we didn't have those. You didn't have a Liam Fontaine figure or anything like that these days now that goes, you know what, boys, come on, let's take. And I mean, it's just a case. I think a lot of these players, Hanlon, I think, is an unwilling captain. He's not a leadership sort of guy.
He's never a Hibs captain. I've said it for years.
He's a good he's a decent player. He's a good guy. Of course, he's a Hibby. He's
a good professional, but I think to be a good leader, I think he has got some qualities of a good leader. Like, he's a good professional. He represents the club well and things like that. But you need to have a nasty side to you too.
Absolutely.
You have to know where to draw the line and, lay down your authority. And for me, just doesn't do it. Doesn't do it enough. He's been the too many of the results, in my opinion.
Aye.
I'm going to hide how I feel and to sort of make the podcast look good or anything like that. I'd take the armband off of me. I don't think he's a Hibs captain. I'd take it off him. He's had his shot, He's had his shot, but who do you get to? I mean, McGregor's getting on. But as you said, Jack, there's nobody there. Like, you look back at that 2016 team. Christ, he'd be daft coming here. You look back to that 2016. Mate. 100%, 100%. But you look back to that 2016 Cup winning team, right? They got inspiration from a tackle that David Gray made on the halfway line. If you watch that Time for Heroes or whatever it's called, the DVD, they say when David Gray put that tackle in on the halfway line when he was absolutely knackered, they thought, yeah, that's a commitment. We can do this.
Exactly.
A double penalty save, and you're sitting there like, no arsed. I don't get it, mate. Do you know what? It must be. I've been thinking about it. It must be harder to win these matches than we give them. Than we sort of acknowledge.
Do you know something, right?
It must be.
There's no fans in the ground. So after that double penalty save, if there was 30,000 Hibs fans, we'd have roared them on to score a goal, probably.
Absolutely.
And there's no fans. Like, it's a difficult one, but like they've got to show up for these games, man.
Mate, I'd die out there for Hibs to win that cup if I was playing. I'd run until I died. I'm not even joking you. I'd do anything I could to get Hibs the cup. I ken how much it means to the fans, my family, my friends' families. I'd happily die out there doing that. And it might be a bit extreme to some folk. That's how much I care. I would have if I was playing. I'd myself.
Leave everything out there. And it didn't seem like the team done that. None of them. No. Minus Macy.
Macy, a goalkeeper can't, affect much.
Goalkeeper's not a forward, do?
No. Exactly. We're not like Man City. We're going to put him up like we did with David James. But maybe that would have helped us a bit more. But no, I agree with all that there. That maybe fans would help, but I don't really want to go into that debate because it's it's what happened on the pitch. But to me, Macy should have been screaming the minute he made that double penalty. Get up the pitch. I think, in all fairness to him, it looked like he was gesturing. I don't think like the pitch microphones. He was going like you could see him going like that. Up, and none of them seemed bothered. I think to me, I'm blowing out my arse for better want of a word. I can't be bothered now. Maybe I'm reading the situation wrong, but that's what I saw. And fair enough, you've had a hard season, and you've put in a lot of work, but the work's not done yet. You're in a cup final, and I'm not going to rip players a new one because I think there's a line between criticism and abuse that's been crossed too many times this weekend.
Far too much.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to say, some players. Like Porteous, they're young lads still. I mean, I know some of these lads that have been taking the mick, 22 seems ancient to them, but, you know, he's a young lad, and yeah, he's a bit mistake-prone. Doig, again, 19, just turned 19. I think Stevenson and McGregor over those two because experience. They're no scared because Stevenson and McGregor they know how to win trophies. And unlike Hanlon, I think Hanlon, like all that debate back about Hanlon, but I wouldn't want to be repeating myself, but Stevenson and McGregor are good mentally, you know, to go, we can do this. And yeah, they're older, but older players win your trophies. I mean, you look at some of the experienced players in that Leicester team that won the FA Cup, like Morgan and that, you know, he's been around for donkey's years, and he was
Morgan, Vardy and that, aye.
Exactly.
Aye.
You know, experience pays in these games.
Aye, totally. Well,
going on to this penalty save, right? It seems daft, right? But I was watching a Man United replay for 99, and Schmeichel saved a penalty in extra time, and all the players tried to congratulate him, and he just pushed them off. I mean, go.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, go. And see, when you seen the penalty, they were just like,
aye, you know,
what do we do?
Exactly.
There's
I've got another example of that. Obviously, every people that know me, I'm a Hertha Berlin. You know, Hertha Berlin, my second team. It was the playoff to avoid relegation. You know, it was Rune Jarstein had made a really crucial save. It wasn't a penalty. A really crucial save. And like Nicholas Stagnat were going over him, and he was like pushed him up the pitch. And we ended up winning the playoff and didn't get relegated. And we nearly got relegated home by Dusseldorf. You know, and Rune Jarstein had he was like, get up there, boys. And then, you know, so I think, and Macy was doing it, like, you couldn't pick up on the pitch like microphones, but you could see Macy was sort of pushing it, wanting them to push. And, you know, like I was going back to my point again, I hate to be repeating myself here, but nobody looked bothered.
No.
And it looked like they'd never played together before.
Hi.
It looked like if I'm going to go play a game of 5-a-sides in the morning with one of my mates, and then I deck in the rest of them, and it's almost like, when you're there, you dare to like shout at anyone at that age because you dare they ken. It looked like that on Saturday. It looked like they didn't ken each other.
Yeah.
It looked like they never played together before. No. Then they looked like a team that was third. But don't know, mate. It goes round and round about. Say,
exactly. For one penalty to a shocking dive, talk to me about Boyle.
Stonewaller.
A
penalty, mate. We were robbed.
I think it was desperation.
That is the worst dive I've seen ever, right? And if somebody offered me a $5 for Boyle, get himself to fuck. You're 1-0 down the cup final. Do not dive.
The thing is, out for it.
He's made a name for himself now. Like, he came out and defended himself, but
like everything
said I'm no, but
exactly everything the papers have been saying, he's just gave them a reason to believe it now.
Exactly. You know, I think it was unfair before, but that you know, he's a player that
embarrassing.
I was hoping was Rachel would go and give him a cuff round the lug when he went in, because she doesn't do that when she plays, eh?
Aye.
You know, I think definitely Rachel should have given him a cuff round the lug when he got home.
It was bad.
I'd have took it as a penalty though if it was given.
100%. If it was given, you take it, but no, my days. How bad was that? Anyway, we'll move on to...
If it was a penalty, we would all been doing the Boyle, didn't it? Leaf Links diving about the floor. Class.
We're going to bring up
that yogi slide marks all along the links there.
Aye. Going
to bring up that yogi quote about the boy in Speedos and everything like that.
Aye. He had them on Saturday.
He had the goggles on and all.
Aye.
But, you know, I think, like I was saying, when he gets here, I hope Rachel gave him a cuff round the lug, because she doesn't do that when she's out playing.
And that's playing lassies football.
Aye.
You know what I mean?
Aye. Well, we'll go to Saturday night, and the boys went out for an after-season party. Was anyone got an opinion on it? Does anyone really care?
I didn't care.
I didn't care. But the one thing I'm going to say to the folk that, I mean, I think folk do have a right to be annoyed. You know, the thing is, they're no robots. They didn't power down till August. They didn't go into hibernation until August. You know, I think it was like one of the boys from down the slope said that you know, they're human beings. They're having a party. Their mates take stupid videos of them. That happens. Should they have had the party? That's not a story. I'm not even going to talk about that. It's a non-opinion. It's a non-story, in my opinion. Folk got annoyed about it. Okay, that's their opinion. My opinion is, I'm no. It's like coronavirus. I'm not going near it. You know, it's toxic. It's more toxic than bloody reactor 4 at Chernobyl, if you ask me. So I'm not going anywhere near that.
The one thing that got me about it, and it's just, I think the big thing that got me was that it was posted on social media. Like, I didn't care.
What was that lassie doing? That's maybe Dodgy's missus.
I didn't care that they went out for it. Like,
seemingly, aye.
To be honest, right, if they'd have postponed it to this weekend when the Player of the Year, like, that's probably a better time to do it, eh? No, right after a cup final, because people swing their own narrative with that. It's like, why is Dodge popping a bottle of champagne if he never turned up in the final? It doesn't really matter.
Aye, exactly.
Like, I'm assuming he had family up and he had a smile on his face because his family were here. That's what I'm taking.
That's what I see. No,
aye,
aye, perhaps on the same foot. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. I seen it and I just felt a bit disconnected to the club, and I thought, Ken, for me, yes, I do agree with you is that they are humans and that, and they're entitled to a party and that. But for me, I mean, I could hardly speak to my missus after it. I didn't know what to speak to anyone. I was so annoyed. I felt so let down. I was disappointed. I did take the dog for a walk to clear my head. Just get out of the house. I was in no mood to be drinking anything. Or I didn't even feel hungry after it. Dinner was no longer. I didn't even feel hungry after the final. I just felt disappointed to the pit of my stomach. That's how much it means to me. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure it means a lot to Dodge in that as well, and they're probably celebrating a good season. But it's interesting because
read the room.
It shouldn't have been on the social media.
But the social media thing side of it was just not sense. Whoever was in charge of PR that night, because I noticed there was one with Dabrowski as well.
Aye.
Now, of course, what you've got to realise is him and Bradley are both young lads. To them, it's a mate's night out and they didn't play. So I think that's a non-story, if you ask me. I get, again, why folk are frustrated, but to me, it was a very bad move. I'll say that. A bit like whoever put the video of Cummins breaking the chandelier on, because and apparently the hotel has sent Dundee the bill for it now. So,
that's hilarious. That's just him, eh? I love that.
His mates were taking him on. That was bad, like.
But, these aren't things for social media, that sort of stuff. They let the players do what they do. And I think whoever put it up was, very ill-advised, I thought. But I'm not going to talk about it because, to me, it was 90 minutes on the pitch and about the manager, what the players do in their free time. Couldn't really concern me, to be honest. It's 90 minutes on the pitch for me. And if the players want to do that, they can do that. I'm a bit annoyed, but I think the righteous indignation that some folk are getting off of it is just a bit too, over the top. I think folk have a right to be annoyed, but the righteous indignation is too much for me.
Aye.
Absolutely. See the whole thing about work parties. Like, I've always said, when you're at work parties, keep the phone away.
Exactly.
Unless you're phoning your missus to get picked up or phoning a taxi, just keep the phone away. I always say to everybody, put your phones on airplane mode, chuck them in the middle of the table.
Some of that stuff shouldn't be on. Even if we'd won, I don't think some of the stuff they were doing should have been on social media, to be honest.
No. Aye, well, let's put that behind us. Let's put Saturday behind us.
I've just got to jump in there, Charlie, and say one more thing about it. I mean, to be fair to Dodge, a couple of years ago he was playing for Forest Green. Do you know what I mean? And but for football and boxing are the only two sports in the world where silver medals aren't celebrated. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
I mean, he's done well. He's done well for the level he was playing at to be up with the top scorers of the league and that, and he's probably just enjoying his night. But I mean, as I said, it's
just a bit ill-advised, eh? Like, no bad for a policeman for Newport, eh? Because Dodge was a copper, I'm pretty sure he was a copper before he became a footballer.
He was a basketball player too, I think.
But, no bad for a boy that got into football, quite late on and was playing mostly like non-league and everything. Fair play to him. I think he's done well up here, and he's unfortunately had a bad game, and it's the biggest game of the season that he's just had that really bad game. But like I said, I just want to leave that because it's something. It's a discussion I really didn't want to get involved in, the players thing, because like you said, it's toxic. I didn't really want to go anywhere near it.
Aye, totally. Well, I found this quote, or it's not a quote. Liam Fay Down the Slope tweeted something that I really think we should discuss, and we'll chat a wee bit about it afterwards, and I'll just read it for us. Says, now that the dust has settled, Saturday was genuinely one of the most abject, insipid and uninspiring performances in my lifetime watching Hibs, which I'm sure we can all agree on. Players, coach, everyone at the club should know how disappointed we as fans are. Having said that, some of the criticism has been way over the top. This club cannot and will not improve by sacking our head coach every time we don't show up or produce a subpar performance in a big game. The players didn't do themselves justice on Saturday. They've had a good season and had an opportunity to make it great. They failed. But stating publicly that you want rid of half the team and requiring us a major rebuild after finishing third is nonsense. A league season is 38 games, not 5 games in the cup. We all want to win the cup, but the reality is head coaches must be judged first on what they do in the leagues and second on what we achieve in cups. Our recruitment this summer is important, as it is every summer, but we need to add depth to our squad to make it more defensively solid, but also to add goals and creativity into our midfield. I have every faith we'll do exactly that. And finally, comparisons with other ex-head coaches, Colin, Jogi, Lennon, Fenland, to name a few, are embarrassing and unhelpful. I'm glad it got you a few likes on Twitter, but let's be serious. All of the above were relieved of their duties because they weren't good enough. Ross finished third. None of them achieved that. In actual fact, Lennon's team bottled it more, despite many of you telling us that Lennon's team didn't bottle big games. So I'll start with you, Calvin. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think we got a bit of flack, if I'm honest with you. We put out a tweet two polls last week, and one of them was before the final. We predicted this, Charlie. We predicted that if Ross lost this final, it was on a knife edge. It was going to go one way or another. They were going to say he's the greatest coach of all time at Hibs. Third place in the Scottish Cup. No one else can say they've done that, right? But Stubbs can't say he'd done that because he never got third place in the Premier League and the Cup, right?
Aye.
So we said instant, legendary status. On the other hand, if he loses the Cup, we predicted what's happening now. Folk would be wanting him out in that, the Jack Ross out brigade. We then put out another poll just to sort of engage with the audience and get the feeling of like Hibs fans in general, just because we're interested in it. And I'm interested to see what folk are saying and what I'm seeing. I'm reading a lot of negative tweets about Jack Ross and a lot of negative tweets about Jack Ross in, Jack Ross out. And it's nice to just put a poll there and say, the dust is settled. Are you Jack Ross in or are you Jack Ross out? And, we got loads of votes. And, 60% of Hibs fans, was over 300, almost 400 folk that have voted on that. And 60% of them are saying Jack Ross in. And we stated that ourselves. Like, I'm Jack Ross in.
I'm Jack Ross in.
Yes, it's disappointing and things like that. But I made the point last week, Charlie, as well, before we even aired this. The revolving door doesn't work. It doesn't work. I mean, you have to give the guy time to build. I mean, there's McInnes up at Aberdeen for 8 years. 8 years, a brilliant amount of time, I think. But yeah, I think it's. I agree with what he's saying. I think it's pretty obvious, to be honest with you, that Jack Ross has done really well. I've done some of my own research as well. I'll read it out to you if you didn't mind. In terms of Jack Ross, the positives. So, quickly, the negatives is he's lost 2 semi-finals and 1 cup final. Then a lot of people think that they also have, if you're a Jack Ross in fan, then you're apparently accept mediocrity. But the positives of Jack Ross are third in the league, first time in 16 years, okay? With a potential to be in Europe. He's got the best away record in recent years. He's won 4 less games than Celtic this season, which I think is, if someone says to me at the start of the year, you'll lose, Celtic will only win 4 more games than you, I'd have been surprised. Yeah. He finished finished 7 points above Aberdeen, and he finished 18 points clear of 5th place. That's crazy. We're so far in front of the teams in 5th place. And we were 4 points off our record point tally of 67 points, and he's taken us from 11th place to 3rd place. That's a wee bit of research I'd done last night looking at that, and I think it speaks for itself. I can understand why we're frustrated. As I said, there's things I don't agree with Jack Ross. Like he said, that comment about, if we're going to lose, we're going to go out. Yeah, we'll go out with a fight, which I don't think there was any fight. I was pretty annoyed with him as well with his tactics. 4 cracks at the whip against St Johnstone or 3 cracks. Can he get it?
Aye.
Can he suss them out? I was annoyed about that. I'm not happy with his tactics on Saturday there with the long ball and things like that. Sometimes I do get annoyed with him when I look over and he's got his hand in his pocket and he's looking all. He's not very animated on the sidelines and things like that. Things like that do annoy me, but I think the guy's done a great job.
Aye.
I think he had a hard job taking over Hecky. I agree with it, mate. But it's part and parcel of what we've been saying as well.
Aye, totally. Totally.
Aye.
It's not his team yet, is it?
Aye, that's I agree with that.
No, it's not.
And it's not all sugar. It's not all shite. It's somewhere in the middle.
Aye, when he first came in, I was saying this. Gave Jack Ross time to build completely his own team because there's still a lot of Hecky players and even Lennon era players there. Gave him a chance to build completely his own team. And I think it would be quite good. But some of the points that have just been brought up there, 11th to 3rd, the state we were in when Heckingbottom left to now, within the space of less than 2 years, is absolutely amazing. And I noticed a lot of things. I wanted to bring this up was the crap Premiership narrative that's being sort of.
That's a lot of pish.
It's nonsense. Like I was saying, Dundee United again. I'll say credit to Harry for down the slope for saying this stuff. Dundee United much better than the Hearts team that went down that they're replacing. Dundee United, especially when Mellon first started off, they were unlucky not to get top 6 this season. Dundee United, I thought, a few silly results towards the end cost them that. St Mirren were quite exciting to watch for a wee while, really sort of like competitive down at the bottom. Who expected Killie to go down this season, eh? Ross County, what Yogi did there, sort of hauling them out from certain doom. Hamilton, despite the fact they went down for a wee while, managed to sort of pick up. You had one of the best Rangers teams that I've seen in 10 years.
Oh, easy.
Celtic, sensational.
Celtic, despite the fact they were rubbish, by Celtic standards, were still pretty good. You had a St Johnstone side that done the double, a Livy side that went 14 or 15 games unbeaten. So to say crap Premiership, I think, to me, the facts are being ignored to suit a certain narrative, and I don't like that. I just want the facts. No matter whether you're Jack Ross in or Jack Ross out, I like folk to look at the facts. And we've done really well in what's been a difficult season. We've got this nasty virus, no supporters being allowed in, and we're a club that sort of feeds off our support. And to sort of play as well as we did, of course, especially the away form. If you said to me we'd win Fir Park in Rugby Park confidently, I'd laugh at you because those are places we used to go and be terrible against. Jack Ross has got a full set of results against Kilmarnock. Now, last season, and even like under Lenny, wins against Kilmarnock were quite, shock, if we won at Rugby Park. I think that's got to be looked at. And, I agree with Calvin, there is negative. Sometimes I go, what are you doing that? Or the football's maybe not the best to watch, but I'd rather we play sideways football and it's a bit boring than play some of this gung-ho crap. You've got to remember that when Hecky left us after that 5-2 defeat, that was a game where he played a backline of fullbacks. He had Tom James in at centre-back that game. And that's the manager that left. And just you're thinking, yes, Jack Ross's football might not be most exciting, and yet can be like really frustrating sometimes. But I'd rather that than and win games. You maybe do get a few silly losses here and there. Than watch gung ho stuff that makes you want to nervously crap yourself for 90 minutes. And that's just my view on it. That we've done fantastically well given how much of a difficult season this is. And yes, the cup hurts, but winning cups doesn't make you a big team. Wigan won the cup; they got relegated that year. And you see that, so cups aren't the all and end all of football, because at the end of the day, it's all the league is your main thing. The league's what you're in. Cups come and go. But
absolutely.
I agree, but I'd rather have a cup than third place. I think we all would, to be fair.
If I was given the choice, but
if you're looking at the end of the season or in the history books, 100 years time, you got to be looking at cups. Do you know what I mean? And he should have had one of those 2 cups. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, aye.
He should have had, and he's failed in that aspect. But I still
Andy, what are you thinking about it, mate? I know you've been pretty outspoken about your views this season on him.
Right. me and I'm a Man United fan as well, right? So I'm in the same sort of situation with Ollie, and I'm Ollie in, right? And you'll have all seen what's gone on there. But you've just got to give him time. I mean, you look at the state we were, like as Jack was saying, the state we were in under Hecky, we were shocking. And that 5-2 loss against Celtic, I mean, I've never felt like there's times you feel hollow at Hampden. That was horrible. And you think about it, came in, stabilised everything. We went and won 4-0 at St Johnstone. I think that was under Eddie
May, aye.
But we got cracking. He's had a clear out. He obviously didn't fancy a majority of Hecky players.
No.
Ken, he's just seen his backside with all of them. He's only brought in 5 players.
Aye.
5 players. He's seen our release list. It was about 12 in the summer. You've still got people like Dubrovsky to come in. Possibility of Fraser Murray coming back in.
Tom James.
Tom James done well at Salford.
He could be all right.
Squad player, eh?
As a squad player, be fine.
A bit of depth, eh?
Aye,
exactly. Who'd they bring in that January? Was it Paul McGinn? McNulty?
Omiyonga, Greg Docherty.
It was all loan players, come what I mean?
Loan players.
And you think about it, we've done this season without Scott Allen.
Which is tough.
I think that's going to be massively looked at. And you think about next season, we've got the recruitment's already started quite clearly. We've got Malin and Allen come back, and we've got Mackay coming in. I think the future is bright, and I think we've got to give Jack Ross time to rebuild Hibs in his image.
Aye.
I mean, he's done a brilliant job at St Mirren. And minus 2 results at Sunderland, he's done a good job down there.
Well, absolutely, aye, because Sunderland were a horror show before he came in.
Exactly.
And I think it was a point that I made, and if he'd won that playoff final with Sunderland, we wouldn't have got him. So in a way, you've got to look at it as a positive, but that he didn't win that playoff final. But I think we're talking about the cups. My view on it is we did well in the league, and we passed up 2 golden opportunities at silverware. When the Old Firm go out so early in this cup competition, when you didn't have Hearts to worry about either, you've got to go for it. But it is really, really painful that I think definitely the League Cup, when you look at the League Cup last 4, last 8 last 4, we were top of the pile in that. And I think it goes back to that old thing of I'd much rather a cup, but if we didn't get the cup, I wouldn't be moaning about getting third either. I think, but I'm not going to call out anybody or anything like that. But what my view on it is it's been a really good season in terms of the league, but cup competitions, it needs to be put on the report card as I could do better. And next season we might go on and win the League Cup. I think the League Cup is the one we should always aim for, because Celtic and Rangers view it as the Diddy Cup and don't usually care. The Celtic Rangers
100%.
attitude. The Celtic Rangers attitude is, we'll just win that anyway. And it's been, it's caused a downfall a good many times in the competition. I think we could easily win the League Cup next season. What my view is to me, third all the time. That's where we should be. Third or fourth all the time, and challenging. Scottish Cup, I'll take a run in the Scottish Cup because it's the one that's Celtic and Rangers, because they'll want their double at least. For me, the League
definitely.
Cup always aim to win, because the League Cup, like I said, the Old Firm treat the League Cup with disrespect. They say it's the Diddy Cup, we'll win that anyway. So I think that's the cup we should always be aiming for. Next season, I think if I was Big Ron Gordon, I'd be sitting at the board meeting, bring Jack Ross and say, right, Jack, here's your objectives. Third, try and qualify for the Conference League group stage, because it's the qualification path looks quite easy if you what my own research was, and League Cup. Now, we will only sack you didn't get the League Cup, but League Cup should be on the second on your priority list behind a third place finish in the league. That's my view on it anyway.
And then Scottish Cup if we can.
Totally. A team like Hibs should be at Hampden every year.
Oh, aye, for sure.
Oh, aye.
Aye. Calvin's back.
I think, see, the thing is, I think it's been a good season, right? And it's no half empty or that, right? It's half full. It's been progress.
Aye.
I think it's been massive progress. And as much as I've been outspoken saying Jack Ross, I've got to kind of say, I've got to mark him with the same tracks I'm doing with Ollie at Man United, right? It's progress.
It's wee bits.
Let's go and get a cup.
Aye, it's wee bits of time. Yeah,
Aye.
it's exactly that, you know, because you look at it and the Scottish Cup, you know, Stubbs came in and Stubbs had to build that up for the team that got relegated to the team that won the cup. It doesn't happen overnight. You know, it's not a magical thing that's, you know, and, you know, Colin, when he won the CIS Cup, there was a lot of players that had been, you know, signed beforehand. And you look at the Miller with the 1991 Skull Cup as well. A lot of players have been around for ages, like Mickey Weir and that. So, you know, cups are won by building up. You can't just go, right, we're going to, you know, you do get the odd fairy tale cup run, obviously, like Wigan's a prime example, or Eintracht Frankfurt in the DFB Pokal, where they just do it. But those are freak incidents, you know. The rest of the team, you've got to build up and you've got to have the squad there. And like I said, I was saying, you let Jack Ross fully bring his own players in and flush heck out the system, we will have a squad capable of challenging, I feel.
Aye, totally. Because you look at it, Rangers wanted Gerrard out this time, well, March last year. Ken?
They were like, we're building. And the thing is, see, when you look at that, that's took them, 4 years.
Aye. Ken, you can't just get rid of a manager after a year and a half. Oh, it's not good enough, we'll get rid of you. Ken, look at Alex Ferguson at Man U, prime example. He was a game away from losing his job. And
exactly.
He's the best manager to ever walk the face of the earth. But
exactly.
Not that I think Jack Ross will have the same effect that Hibs like, but
you know, it's similar. You know, another one I can think of, you know, coming from a German football perspective, is Robert Kovac at Eintracht Frankfurt. He was only a couple of games to losing his job. He wins the Pokal, then goes to Bayern Munich, wins the Super Cup with Bayern Munich, and then gets the ball rolling for the season they won the treble. So, you know, again, don't think Jack Ross will have that effect. But you look at managers like Ferguson, like Robert Kovac, they start off sort of, who is this guy? Or we're not too sure about him. And then they come and they do a job, they build their own team. And that's what you've got to look at. You can't just, you know, go, it's a year and a half. A year and a half's nothing in football. No. You know, it's absolutely nothing. You know, you've got to let a manager build things up. You know, McInnes, that didn't happen overnight for him at Aberdeen.
They were nearly relegated. He came in
Exactly.
the same season we got relegated, right? He signed Niall McGinn and Adam Rooney, and they finished, I think it was 6th or 7th that year. And like the likes of Willow Flood and building on professionals.
Exactly.
And see if we could get 5 years out of Jack Ross, I'd be absolutely delighted, because you look at some of the managers we've had in the last couple of years, it's only been, you know, Stubbs was 2 years, Fenlon 2 years, we got 18 months in Mowbray. You know what I mean? We've got to have foundations laid there.
You've got to, exactly. You know, it's about trying to keep, finding the right manager and keeping them there. Again, we're talking about McInnes at Aberdeen. You know, there's a few other clubs. I mean, Pep, again, Guardiola, I know it's on a grander scale, but that didn't happen overnight for him at City either. You know,
it took him 2 years.
Exactly. You know, so it takes
the thing
time.
is as well, who do fans want? Who comes in next?
Exactly.
Then they get me wrong, like, we took like Fenlon, right? I'll be honest with you, we played some good football under Pat Fenlon. I don't know if you remember, there was one game in particular, I have never seen Hibs dominate Hearts like this in all the days until I'd seen that match. We lost the match, right? And I think it was Fenlon's last game in charge. I think he packed it in after that.
That's right.
Playing Hearts. And Stevenson scored a freak goal out of nothing. But we absolutely battered them that night.
I remember that.
Absolutely battered them. It's one of the best times I've ever seen us. In the end, 1-0 out. We get him out, right? We get one of the best managers in the league in Terry Butcher, right? Comes in with a negative attitude, didn't get me wrong, starts telling folk, you're no here. Good manager, but on his track record, he doesn't work. He's out the job. We bring in Stubbs. Stubbs rebuilds the team. Fair enough. He done a decent job. Then he jumped ship the minute he got a sniff at a better offer, which was Barnsley. Was it Barnsley? No, I don't know who
Rotherham.
Was it. Rotherham. I mean,
why would you leave Hibs for Rotherham?
I don't know.
Must have been money.
Be a chairman that goes like this with our managers.
Aye.
But he was a good. Stubbs was a good players coach. Ken, he was a good
Aye.
coach for the players. The players liked them. They got on well. Sometimes it was a bit like a father figure. You'd see Cummins on his back in the newspaper and that, having a laugh and a joke. Good man manager, right? Brilliant.
Brought in
on
good
well with the
staff for him.
players. Felt like
Aye.
it was a really,
Well.
really good cohesive unit that you had together. He leaves. You bring in Lennon, who's a hard man, right? Straight to the point. You know, obviously it doesn't end well when he, in my opinion, we backed the wrong horse when we backed Canberry. I thought when we brought Lennon in my opinion, I really like Neil Lennon as a manager. I think the guy's a winner, and I don't think, you know, there's been a lot of controversy about this because you can understand. Right, Lennon finished 8th and things like that. Fair enough. He obviously had a lot of mental health issues going on as well, but he got us our best ever tally. He got us out of the championship. You know, he had us on for second at one point till the last game of the season. He kept it going. He did do really well, but you know, the players didn't like him because he was too hard on them. So you now bring in Jack Ross, that's maybe not playing the best football, but he's churning out results that a lot of those managers haven't been able to.
Exactly.
You get rid of Jack Ross. I think Derek McInnes is a carbon copy of Jack Ross. Who do you bring in?
Exactly.
Who's going to take
McInnes
the
or
job?
Alex Neil, eh?
Alex Neil for me if he goes, but
He'll
That's
no
just
go,
his-
God, he'll
No,
no go. But
no,
I'm saying,
no.
who do the
No, you
fans
hope he is, mate.
want? You've had the man manager. You've had one of the best managers in the league in Butcher. You've had a good man manager and Stubbs, right? Still can't get it right. A lot of folk weren't happy with Stubbs, and a lot of folk when they say Stubbs is a legend because he won the cup. You then had Neil Lennon, who's a hard man and is really aggressive and to the point. A lot of fans didn't like Neil Lennon either. Now you didn't like Jack Ross. When does it stop?
Exactly. And that's
What's the
thing.
answer?
You know, looking at that, Neil Lennon for me, you know, especially 17, 18, is brilliant. But and Neil Lennon has his positives, but I think the Neil Lennon negatives for me were obviously the spit in the dummy a lot of the time, which did not help. The arguments upstairs, which, you know, like I said again, 50-50 with these things, it's always, there's more than two sides to the coin, eh? But, you know, there was so many things with Neil Lennon that he's very combative as well, which I think is a good quality to have at times. But sometimes he was too combative. Then you bring in Heckenbottom, which, you know, Colin forgot to mention Heckenbottom. Heckenbottom was an arm round the shoulder, you're doing all right, sort of manager. But to me, he was tactically inept at this level. You know, his tactics work in League One or League Two, fair enough. But then you look at him in the Championship with Leeds, he got Leeds relegated effectively, you know. And then you look at him at Sheffield, completely out of his depth in the Premier League as an intern manager. So Heckenbottom just did not cut it at this level. Whilst he was a nice guy, so sometimes he could be a bit bullshit to me as well. But I mean, with the players, he's an arm round the shoulder. It's all right, son, like I was saying. He just couldn't do it tactically. So you've got a manager that's a nice guy, but has no the first clue about tactics. Neil Lennon, who is a top coach and a bit of a hard man, but sometimes spits the dummy. You've got Stubbs, which, you know, like we're saying, a good man motivator, but sometimes his tactics weren't that great. Butcher, who came in with the wrong attitude. You know, you can go all the way back to the beginning. You could go all the way back to 1875. What manager did it? The problem is the revolving door, like we're saying, it doesn't help. You need stability. And just, you know, I agree with what Calvin was saying. Where does it stop?
We'll have to just get back on the bike and go again.
Exactly. Back on the bike.
So
look at
on you go, mate.
Look at teams that haven't gave managers chance. Look what happened to Lampard this year. He got absolutely shafted.
I agree with that.
People come up. I mean, that's the same team that's finished top four
and could win the champion.
Leicester are sticking by Rodgers. He's bottled top four 2 years in a row and won the FA Cup. You know what I mean? You can see the progress there with the clubs. You've just got to trust the process.
Exactly. You know, and talking about no giving managers a chance, look at, I mean, I think Sauzet was very unfairly treated by the club because he didn't get, and to me, this was typical Rod Petrie, and that's maybe a debate for another day, but, you know, Sauzet, if you'd given him time, because he had big ideas, I mean, I wasn't around at the time, but, you know, I've read the book, the Sauzet book, and I've spoke to folk that are around at the time, and he said he had big ideas. If he'd been given a shot, and I think you have sought that situation back then with Ron Gordon. Now, Sauzet might have been the manager for a wee while longer. Of course, it was too soon to say how he would have done, but I think he knew what it meant to, you know what Hibs meant. You know what we were all about as a club. He loved Hibs. He had big ideas for bringing players in, a lot of his old teammates and everything like that. And if he'd been given the shot, who knows? So I think, yeah, you're talking about giving a manager a chance, but, you know, I don't really know where to go with the manager debate, because it feels like we're just back, you know, it's like Groundhog Day. Every time we sack a manager, want to sack a manager, it's exactly back to the same debate of what sort of manager do we want. I think there's this mythical thing of the high B way, you know, and I agree there maybe is, but I'm sorry, Eddie Turnbull's not available. You know? We've not been like that, you know. Sorry, Jimmy, or I'd love to see Jimmy O'Rourke play, but I didn't want to break his hip. You know, it's not the 70s anymore. I think that's what a lot of fans need to realise. It's not the 70s anymore. When football's a completely different game, you know. And then for the younger fans, I think the younger fans have seen how Stubbs play, seen how Lennon play, and think that's how it's always been. You know, I'm 18. I've seen some crap in my time being a Hibs supporter. You know, so it's you know, my granddad, you know, God rest him, he saw a lot of crap in his team. He saw the best Hibs ever were in the 50s, and then saw some of the other rubbish, you know. So I think it is a generational thing that a lot of fans are just used to. This is, we have ups and downs. So, you know, the debate's never going to end. And like I said, it's a Groundhog Day situation.
Aye, totally. Well, I think we're all in the same boat, eh? Like, let's just keep Jack Ross. There's no point sacking him.
For
He's
now.
not good. Aye, for now. Give him time, and we'll see what happens.
Give him a wee bit more time, eh?
Aye. Right. Well, we'll move on to the Hibs women's team. Jack, you're keep up with it more than the 3 years do. So, how are they doing now?
You know, they've had a tough season, obviously, with no fans, and of course, for the women's team, the fans mean so much, because, you know, we really get behind them and everything like that. And I think, despite a tough start to the season, they've been doing fantastically well. You know, we've got some great players in there. You know, Ailey Adams at 17, she's been absolutely fantastic. One of the best players outside the Glasgow three, I think. And, you know, we got a really solid result just last week there. You know, the 0-0 draw we got Glasgow City just the weekend there, 0-0 draw at Glasgow City, which I thought was amazing, because Glasgow, you know, they're so far ahead. They're on for their 14th league title in a row, and to hold Glasgow the way we did was absolutely amazing. I thought we played really well, a lot of character, and in the end we were unlucky not to win it. You know, Hayley Adams got the ball forward, and Lee Alexander, and this is why she's the Scotland #1, the Glasgow keeper, was right out like that to it. And I think if it had been any other keeper in the league, Hayley Adams would have got that goal. So really solid. Joelle Murray had an excellent game. And talking about Boyles, Rachel Boyle had an excellent game as well. And, you know, there's been a good few results in there the past couple of weeks. You know, the 6-0 derby win over Hearts, which was
beautiful.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful, brilliant game. I thought excellent football. So we're playing good football. Dean Gibson, the manager's doing a great job. And it's just a case of building a squad. You know, we're bringing in some players from America and a Finnish player soon, you know, that's had experience in America. And America's like the Brazil with women's football. That's where you get all the talent from. So, you know, it's been really, really positive at the women's team so far. And Dean Gibson's doing a great job given the situation that we're in with COVID. The girls are in action tonight. Obviously, the listeners will know the score by the time they'll listen to this, but they're in action tonight at 7:15 over at Pennycook Park. Fans are allowed in tonight. Playing Celtic. We've had a mixed bag against Celtic. We got a 6-2 loss at Ainsley Park, which I think, you know, it was back when the team was still sort of getting used to each other. Then had a 3-1 loss out at K Park, which I didn't think we deserved. So Celtic got a dodgy penalty.
Nah, they did.
And we should have got a penalty. But no, so the girls have been fantastic. And I think it's a much needed positive spin after the weekend that on Sunday the girls got such a good result against Glasgow. I mean, I was blown away. You go into games against Glasgow and you know they're going to be tight. You think, you know, Glasgow usually get lucky. But yeah, we were just absolutely amazing. You know, a 0-0 draw against Glasgow is basically a win, in my opinion, you know, because of how good Glasgow are. And the Glasgow, you know, Celtic and Rangers are investing a lot in their squad, so it's stay competitive with them's good. And the derby wins, the big derby wins are always good to see as well. So I hope the girls get a good result against Celtic. I'll get my prediction in the new and say we'll edge it 1-0. Ailey Adams to get the goal. So I just wanted to bring it up, because the girls have been excellent and you know, provide as well a lot of much needed positivity when we need it.
Aye, totally. No, it's good to have a resident Hibs women fan in amongst the support, because I think the Hibs women team doesn't get spoken about a lot. So keep up what you're doing, Jack. It's good stuff.
Cheers.
Calvin, are you back, mate? You all right?
Mate, I'm over the hoose. I'm trying to find a Wi-Fi signal here. I keep on buzzing in and out. Honestly, it's like, see, every other time I use this computer to do work, if I'm doing work for the school or anything like that, or whatever I'm doing, the Wi-Fi is fine. The minute I log onto this bloody podcast, the Wi-Fi goes. Seriously, I've had to
like
move
Hibs,
it, mate. It's a nightmare, man. It really is.
It's like Hibs, mate. You bottle it when it matters most, eh?
That's me.
No,
Yeah,
just
there you go.
just winding you up, mate. Just winding you up. Well, we'll move
Is it
on.
my
to
fault though, or the Wi-Fi's fault, or is it 50-50?
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi out.
Wi-Fi out.
Wi-Fi out. Aye, Wi-Fi out.
We'll move on to our kit number segment, Jack. And it'll be good to hear your thoughts on number 15. We've had a lot of them over the past couple of years since 2000. So I'll run through the list and you can
I've got mine.
tell me your favourite. So we've had Kevin Nisbet, Greg Docherty, Simon Murray, Chris Commons, Brian McLean, Jamie Insult, Daniel Boateng, James McBake, Agbo Soji, Matt Thornhill, Stephen Thico, Patrick Nabisi, Chris Hogg, Stephen Whittaker, Alan Smart, and Lyndon Andrews. So that's a lot. 14, we've had about 3 of them. 15, we've had 33 of them.
Oh,
That's a tough one for me. Like, just for the fact that he was, I think, I did like Whittaker because, especially when he came back, I think he's been a solid. I know he went to Rangers and all that, but I think he's been a solid servant. And the career he had before he came back to us, I thought, he's just a solid player and a model professional as well, Whittaker. And he especially when he was younger, and like I said, the spell he came back was good as well. When he was younger, he was just a fantastic player. And
is he better as a number 3 though?
Well, see,
nah.
Was he 3? Wasn't he 3? Was he?
He was number 3 when he came back.
Right. Was he not there at the same time as Murphy then? No.
He was
number 15 when Murphy was there.
Was he? Oh, right. That fits.
Aye.
But I
promise I'm a fan.
And then Whittaker when he came back, obviously we had Jack Ross. When Jack Ross started playing him in the midfield, I thought, like, especially against was it Dundee United in the replay, mind the Scottish Cup replay? He had a really good game. So I think, and he's doing well. Obviously, he's not at Hibs now, he's at Dunfermline. I think he did well out there as well. So I definitely, for me, Whittaker, purely because he's a model professional and he came back after a good spell at other clubs and did a job for us, especially like when we were first back up. And I think he's a nice guy and he wasn't afraid to get stuck in when he was younger as well. So for me, it's Whittaker.
Andy, for yourself?
It's got to be Whittaker for me, man. He came through our academy, won the League Cup. He went to Rangers. He was sensational at Rangers. See, when they pushed him into right mid, I think he scored, was it 17, 18 goals for right mid. Goes to Norwich and does well. And then comes back and he was solid when he was here when he came back. And don't know, I would have kept him around personally.
You're missing the main point there, though, mate. He played for Rangers.
But so did Darren McGregor.
Just joking, mate.
I can he played for Rangers, but even see when you've seen him scoring at Rangers, I'm like, that's one of ours.
A product of our club. I agree with pretty much everything said there. I just Whittaker, and like we're saying, I think we should have kept him because when he got shifted into that midfield role towards the end,
I thought,
especially the Dundee United replay is a case. That was a case in point. He was absolutely solid in that game. And for me, he adapted to being a midfielder really well. I thought, so for me, Whittaker. I agree with everything that Andy was saying as well.
Calvin, are you making it 3 in a row here?
No, I'm going for girls don't like boys, girls like Simon Murray. That's what I'm going for.
Nearly causing an injury for me.
You're going on Britain's Got Talent, mate.
Wi-Fi out again.
Listen. Is that away, is it?
No, you're back. You're back.
Right, Charlie, you be Simon Cowell. Andrew, you be Lee Walsh. And Jack, you be Sharon Osborne. Am I getting 3 yeses or no?
You're through for me. You're through for me.
Golden buzzer.
I'm a one trick. I'll be back with the same song next week. I can only do one song. Listen, I loved Simon Murray. I thought he was done dirty. I thought he was a good player.
I would have kept him when he came back.
I thought he was a good player. I thought he scored some important goals. I thought he did a lot of hard work for the team. And I tell you what, one hell of a song as well. I like that.
Oh, aye.
So I'm going to go with Simon Murray.
Aye.
He's done well for Queen's Park, you know, I think,
Aye.
which is because he's well above his level. And I think he'll definitely do a really good job for them in League when they're now out there in League One. Having a player like that will be phenomenal for Queen's Park.
Aye.
He nearly
Totally.
caused me to die at Easter Road.
I mind
Mind
that.
Mind he scored against Hearts after
Aye,
was
aye.
it 6 minutes. I nearly
Aye.
went that way down the East Stand because I was
that
jumping
goal
about
was-
mental. That was a brilliant
I
goal.
love watching that goal. I
Aye.
always watch
It's a
that
brilliant
derby.
turn.
I always watch that derby to cheer myself up because it was
The
the
wee
first one back
nutmeg.
up.
Aye, the wee nutmeg for Christoph Berra's. Well, it just
Beautiful.
doesn't get
Swear
better
to
than
God,
that.
Sooner or better, aye.
Close your legs, you fud. Anyway,
Are you making it 2-2 or are you going for someone else?
Kim, what? I'm going for Daniel Boateng, mate. I'm only joking. Who is he? Nah. As much as I like Stephen Whittaker, I'm going to go for Chris Hogg. I think Hoggy was a very, very underappreciated player for Hibs.
And
So,
dirty by us as well.
I done the dirty on him as well. Aye. So 2 for Whittaker, one for Simon Murray, and one for Hogg. Good numbers. Number 16 next week. I think there's only one winner there, but
Definitely.
last we've got two listener questions this week. First one, Calvin, is for your dad.
Mate, we've got quite a few.
I took some of them out, mate, because we've already
Covered them.
We've already
covered
answered.
them.
Like,
Got you, mate.
was it Jack Ross or
No.
the players? So we'll not go back to this Saturday because I've blocked out my mind now. It's nice to
I
get.
didn't want Vietnam flashbacks.
So first one, Calvin, for your dad says, why do you think Andy's got other noise on in his room there?
He's getting the Simon
Sorry,
Murray
man.
song on. He's getting the Simon Murray song on.
No,
No style, no bottle, Andy.
right, I'm out, boys.
Still no fun.
That was brilliant. First one for your dad, Calvin. Why do we struggle to break teams like St Johnstone or Hearts down? Other teams can do it no problem.
Oh, I think the occasion maybe gets the best of us sometimes. We play. I mean, a derby's a derby, and I swear to God, I say it all the time. The only time we ever play the long ball up to the striker is when we play Hearts. If you go east or you bought a season ticket, went and watched us play against Kilmarnock, Ross County, St Mirren, we didn't play the long ball. We get the ball on the ground and we pass it and we play some nice football and we score some good goals and that. And we usually get the minute we play Hearts. I mean, Hearts have probably got to want to be one of the tallest and most physical teams in the league. Every time we get it, it's a long ball. You get the ball on the floor and you pass, you beat Hearts. They're not a football team. They're a pump team. No, but honestly, I mean, one of the times we got the ball on the ground and passed it was that time we pumped them 3-1 at Easter Road. Holt scored, Cummins scored, and Shinnie scored, and that was one of the best displays I've seen.
That was a brilliant game, eh? That's one of the best recent derbies, I think. That was one of the best recent derbies in terms of the performance.
Nothing beats that 2-2 though.
Oh, of course. Eh?
Nothing will ever beat that. But
I didn't like that boy that scored the equaliser. I'm joking. So I agree, mate. I think we just
Cummins. No.
He scored a peachy header.
He did.
I didn't expect that to go in, eh? I thought, because you hear it, if you watch it carefully, you listen to it carefully, you hear a few Hearts fans weighing because they thought it was going to, dip and go over. But it was a brilliant, I just love watching. I love watching that goal more than the equaliser, to be honest. Sometimes because the equaliser was obviously a great goal, but it was a bit messy. It's one of your typical centre half goals. He just sort of handling fell, and he just so happened to get
Wish McGregor scored that goal.
I wish it was Simon Murray.
Wish Darren McGregor started on Saturday. Anyway, moving past that. Last question. We'll go around it.
What do you think of that one?
What?
Sorry, mate. What do you think of that one?
What, McGregor on Saturday?
Nah, mate. The question, why can we not break them down?
No playmaker.
With no playmaker.
I agree with that.
That's a good point.
There's no number 10.
We just can't get the ball moving.
We're missing a playmaker, somebody to pull the strings like Scott Allen that can read the game. That's what's missing.
Missing a cheat code. It's like a cheat code we need.
Aye. Agreed.
Well, last question. We'll go around the proverbial table for this one. Imagine we're sat at a table for this question. Successful season ending in a damp squib or complete disaster, like a lot on Twitter are saying. That's for Alistair Taylor. Calvin.
Wait, what was the question? Sorry.
Was Saturday a successful season ending in a damp squib or a complete disaster?
No, 100% the first one. Successful season ending in a damp squib. I mean, yeah, Chris, you win that match, and it's the best season Hibs have ever had, ever.
Aye.
Well, I mean, in my lifetime anyway. Obviously, done some good stuff back in the 50s and that, but nah, 100%. Good, all round good season. You have to look at the progress. Even if you look at the progress over the last 10 years, I mean, this is the second time in 10 years we've finished third. No, sorry, and this
Top
is the
six.
first time in 16 years that I've researched so many facts for this bloody show. The first time in 16 years we've finished third, but only the second time in 10 years we've been in the top 10. It's got to be progress.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Well, we've had some good results. I think Jack makes a great point, man. How many Hibs teams went to Kilmarnock in the past and dropped silly points or things like that? I think it's been progress, man. It's been progress. I'm excited for it. I think we'll win it all next year, eh? And the Europa League.
We're going to do the quadruple. We're going to win the Conference League now. Right. Andy, answer it.
It's the first one, man. It's how could it be a complete disaster? How can it be a complete disaster of a season?
I don't think Alistair's making the point that it is a complete disaster. I think he's
I think he's alluding to idiots on Twitter. That's my view. That's not the view of the podcast, but that's just me just saying that idiots on Twitter.
We must have one of the most toxic fan bases in the world. Again,
I'm a Man United fan.
That's not the view of the podcast. That's the view of me. But
Rangers.
Jack.
Well, it's got to be the first one for me again, and I've got a few wee points I like to bring into this. That fantastic league season. Now, if that season had ended with that 0-0 draw with Celtic, we would have been going brilliant season, eh? The League Cup and the Scottish Cup, it's just really unfortunate. You can't ignore that, obviously, but I think you take the cups away from it. The league, fantastic league campaign. Like I said, a full set of results against Kilmarnock. When's that ever happened? Like you'd have to be going through the history books to look at that one. Full set of results against Kilmarnock. Really strong tones against teams we used to drop. But full set of results against Hamilton. We didn't get that last season. We drew with them under Hecky at New Douglas Park. So full set result, no dropping silly points to silly teams apart for Ross County. And I know that 3-0 against Livy, but Livy's a team that seems to be a problem for us a lot of the time as well. The split, I mean, we had aside the St Johnstone loss, we were expected to lose at Ibrox. We were expected to lose at Ibrox, and St Johnstone loss was a tougher to take. That win at Pit Ordway, amazing. The 0-0 draw against Celtic, well, it's the last game of the season, who cares when we'd already secured third. And I'd say a confident win against Livy because they got the penalty, but that's about the only thing Livy had in that game. So I think it's been a fantastic league campaign, and the Scottish Cup was just, like an utterly, well, I was going to say underwhelming, but I don't think underwhelming even does it justice to how, sort of disappointing it was. But you can't ignore it. It's been a great league campaign and one to remember. And I think the most rotten part of it is not even the cup loss, it's the fact we weren't there to experience it. It's the fact we weren't on Easter Road to, cheer the team on to such a great, it's like I said, it's the best league campaign that I can fully remember because I was quite wee when obviously we had Mowbray in that. And it's the best league campaign I can fully remember because under Lennon, I think we chucked away a perfect chance at coming second and splitting the Old Firm under Lennon.
Done with that Hearts game,
eh? So, for me, we're missing, like I said, Edinburgh Derby, I suppose I missed them, but for me, it's the first one for sure. Yeah. And based on the points I've made, that it's just been a league campaign to remember, and so many great results in there, getting solid results, and just playing football. It's maybe not been the most exciting, but the one that gets us results.
Aye, totally. And I agree. The first season wasn't a disaster by any stretch of the imagination. So I'll ask you one more question and in one word answer it. So Jack, where are we finishing next season?
Third again.
Andy?
Third.
Calvin? If the Wi-Fi's there. And Calvin's he's still here. You're on mute, Calvin. Is he still here?
He's talking to the dog.
Okay. I don't think Calvin's with us. I think he mouthed third, and I'll say we'll finish third.
Says first.
Oh, he's gone.
He said first there.
Oh, he said I don't think he meant it. I think he was joking. But he's gone. So I think we're all in agreement. So we'll finish third again, hopefully.
Right.
But well, that brings us to the end of this week's podcast and potentially the last one for the season. Oh, Calvin's back. Wait now. I'll let him say his part. He can edit this out. It's fine.
First,
Is he saying first again?
Aye, we're going to stop the Glasgow dominance.
Rangers on the get.
aye, we'll go for first.
Rangers on the getting 56 or 2. Depends
That's
on
what
what way you look
Depends
at
what
it.
persuasion you are on that front, but
No,
I
think
56.
that's between them and HMRC. That's
aye. Right. Will we sing ourselves out then, Simon Murray?
No, I'm not singing on a podcast.
I'll be getting the Hearts fans to get the plane over your house now, eh?
Aye, no Wi-Fi. That was tremendous. No Wi-Fi, no style, no bottle. No connection.
No connection, aye. Get out.
Aye.
So, well, that brings us to the end of this week's podcast and maybe the end of this season's one. There's a couple that were in the pipeline that we've just been sending some emails out that would be massive, Calvin, if we get this.
Aye.
But we'll
It would be.
well, don't know what the fee will be. Ken, it's a big guest, so we'll maybe see how it goes. But if we didn't see you before, have a good Euros and hope Scotland win it. Hope we pump England at Wembley. But
Aye.
and
Fingers crossed.
Aye, and thanks again, Andy and Jack, for coming on again.
Pleasure.
Really enjoyed it.
First returning guests, and probably not the last time you'll be on here as well. So,
Just do one shout out to the listeners as well. Thanks for listening all year. Well, no, all year, the last 15 weeks, we've enjoyed it. And we appreciate the support in that. And folk actually just gain a hoop what we have to say. Appreciate it.
Exactly. Right. See you soon.